Well, hello, friends. I am here with the pirate monk, Elia, and I just want to turn it right away over to you because you're doing something amazing that I think has a lot to teach all of us. And can you kind of describe what your adventure is here?
Yeah, sure. Are you wanting a description more particularly of this adventure in the US or what I've been doing for the past 15 months?
Kind of the whole
The whole
thing,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, so where to begin? I set out on this pirate monk profession or project about 15 months ago, and the idea was to experiment with living a really simple way of life, much in the way that traditionally Buddhist monks or Christian monks would have done in the past, and some still do, but it's much less common. And so I wanted to be like a modern monk of the modern world and to live without money, without possessions really, other than the few essentials which are kind of borrowed from people, and to live without a home and to travel around in a non-exchange way, doing work for people and being useful wherever I can and learning from people also where I can. And yeah, just sort of surviving in gift economy, which to me means giving work freely and receiving what I need freely.
Hmm.
And that's like the short summary, and at the same time it's
I
developed
know.
so
I
much
mean, we could
depth. It's
probably
hard
talk
to,
for
yeah,
hours,
right.
and
Yeah.
but you
Mm.
came to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your first time in the U.S.
Yeah.
And you started in New York
Mm-hmm.
naked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So the pirate monk journey's been for many months, but as sort of like a pinnacle of next challenge of like, okay, what can we do? My cousin Laurie and I decided to put this pirate monk way of life into experimentation here in the US. And so the plan was to arrive in New York and to do a 30-day challenge to get from New York to LA, so coast to coast, with no plan, no money, and just seeing what happens, sort of relying on the coincidences, the miracles of life.
Wow.
And yeah, so that meant starting with nothing but a few medical supplies that I needed for my health, passport, and Laurie, my cousin, who's also a YouTuber, he was bringing all the filming equipment to film the journey. And so we started with these two small bags each on our backs and no clothes in the water of the Atlantic Ocean. And we stepped out of the water, and from that moment, the journey began.
Wow.
It was like a sort of rite of passage or an initiation with nothing.
I want to plug his YouTube channel right away
Mm-hmm.
before we get into
Sure.
discussions
Yeah.
because we got to see it last night. Amazing stuff, living very adventurously, exploring life
Mm-hmm.
so many ways. So I'll put a link in the description, but up here too. So it's Laurie Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming there's going to be a video of this whole
Absolutely.
journey
Yeah. Yeah.
on that channel too. So if people want to see more in depth,
Yeah.
check that out. Okay.
Cool.
So because I feel like we could go for hours, I thought it might be interesting to focus on, to me, what is a really, really interesting aspect of this, which is this concept of giving. Because I feel like we humans have lived so long in this culture that is, say, transactional,
Yeah.
that I think for a lot of minds, it's really difficult to see outside of that paradigm at all. And I was, following some Moneyless people back a while ago, and as we mentioned yesterday, I'd see sometimes people almost getting angry with them, like, oh, you're freeloading or you're just taking, and I always felt like that was a very limited view of what giving is. Being a naturey person, I'm not in the mind of a wolf or a rabbit, but there's transactions that go on between a wolf and a rabbit. But I imagine that they probably don't think in the sense of transaction, where it's so ingrained into our brains that sometimes that's it. But I would like, if we would have to think of it that way. I mean, just your presence is here for my family. Has been, last night the girls were talking, just, oh, it's so fun having them here, and and they're so interesting and nice and kind, and having that energy, just being, I think is a form of giving in a gifting. But thoughts on what you've observed as far as that transactional nature of human experience, and is even gift economy still transactional in some way, and could we surpass that or let that whole paradigm go?
Yeah, that's a very big topic that I've explored like
Yeah.
a lot in the
Okay.
past 15 months. Like by living it as this pirate monk way, a big theme of that is giving and receiving. Or a big theme of being alive on Earth is giving and receiving.
Yeah.
And while I was listening to you talk about that, I was thinking there's so many different threads I could go down in ways of describing this. And let's see what comes.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
So for me, being part of being alive is giving and receiving. We need to give and we need to receive. Many different things we need to receive and many things we need to give to be alive. And the majority world paradigm is a paradigm of exchange and transaction. And that's how we're kind of educated in this system, is that like in order to receive, we must give, or in order to give, we must receive. Like it has to be both ways all the time. And to me, that's just one way of viewing things. And so sometimes I have to use that way to try and describe or relate to people.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I do kind of believe that it's possible to totally discard that paradigm and to just live on a consciousness of needs, of like what people need in any given moment, or what things need, what a tree needs, what a house needs, maybe to be cleaned, or needs repairs, or things have needs. And from that paradigm, that way of thinking, then everything becomes like a flow of resources without being focused on exchange all the time. And yeah, that's sort of a starting point. I don't know if there's something you wanted to comment on that, but I can keep going.
I mean, in the first place, so you and I have both done a lot of mental training. So I don't know, maybe you have the same experience where I can feel my mind by its old training, kind of just jumping to what conclusion it would have.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take over my mind anymore. But I imagine, because that's what my mind first went to, is that it's really easy to think, well, yeah, but then, there's going to be inevitably that one person that's just giving and another person that's just taking and taking. And that's the mind being trapped in that paradigm. It can't think outside of that. So it has to frame it in there's going to be an uneven exchange of resources.
Yeah.
But I feel like then we lose the ability to see so many types of giving.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or of value.
Yeah, so I would say that the problem with one of the many problems, in my view, of seeing the world through transactional exchanges, of trying to calculate value, how much something's worth and how much something's worth, and yeah, this is more or less right, swap. And I see there's many problems, in my view, with that system. And one of the big problems is that that's somehow assuming that we get things more than we really do. And what I mean by that is that in order to calculate value and make exchanges like that, we have to actually understand what things are worth and what's equal. And I think that's way beyond our human capacity. And I think nature, or God, you might want to call it, or the Tao, or the bigger picture, is already always calculating or balancing exchanges. And that we don't need to worry about that. So it's almost, that's a bit of a philosophical stance I hold in this often. But for me to try and think, I come to your house, for example, and I'm thinking, how much have we given and how much have we received? To me, that's like an impossible task.
I feel like it's exhausting in human relationships.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And, so we'll work with married couples often, and you'll see that just rampant. It's got to be this equal exchange.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're in a competition like that, I'm going to value what I do probably more than what you do. And then there's all these fights about, well,
I'm not valued, I give too much. Right.
But I love how you just put that all into one container, noticing that we humans have a lot of trouble putting value onto something or understanding the value of something.
And I think the problem there also lies that we assume that value can be logically calculated, like as if it's absolute, if it's unchanging, that this is always worth this, and my giving is always worth this. And my paradigm that I want to switch into, and that this way of life that I'm living is practicing, is to not see value as a fixed thing, but see it all about meeting needs. And if there is a need for something, or I have a certain need, and my needs are met, to me that is enriching life. And that's always changing, always depending. So in the example you said of like a married couple or a household, the needs of the household change all the time. And as long as needs are being met, then my view is we don't need to calculate value or exchanges. And so this is like the crux of it for me, is like wanting to live a needs consciousness, I will often call it. But it's looking at how everything meets needs.
Yeah.
And so one could say that, yeah, there's basic needs, like I have a need for food and shelter and warmth and things like this, but there's much more subtle needs as well, that we all long to be inspired, to have creativity, to have a sense of community, to have a sense of empathy and support and listening. And so wherever I go, I have this desire to meet people's needs when I have, and that's a need of my own as well. It's like I have a deep longing to be of use, to contribute. And I want to trust that every human has that, and that when meeting our own need for contribution, that's for me. It's not that I'm doing it to get something back.
It's that giving is, and this is a place I've messed up in my life a lot, is I understood that giving feels great. So I've traditionally been a giver, but I haven't let people give back.
Yeah, right.
So I haven't been a receiver at all.
Yeah.
And, having to realize that robbing people of that
gift in a way.
It feels so good to, yeah. And so you must have a lot of good feelings going around, because I'm assuming when you look around at the world, you're also looking at those needs and seeing where you can help people or bring a smile, and you're seeing a wide range of ways that you can gift to the world.
Yeah, and so if I were to even, sometimes people will ask me, they say, you receive a lot in this way of life, of food and shelter for free, you're not living with money, and what do you give? Like almost sometimes it's a bit challenging, and I'm open to this kind of question, like, well, what do I give? Okay, it depends so much on the situation, on the needs of the household, the city, the place I'm in. My intention is to be as adaptable as possible, and sometimes that's not always possible. Maybe I can't give what's needed in a certain situation. But examples would include, at the beginning, I focused very much on manual labor. By living in this way, I wanted to just help with my work, whether that's cooking, cleaning, gardening. I want to feel useful. I want to do something. Then I started learning that actually there's a lot of more subtle things I can give, whether that's just a hug, whether that's going into the city and being there for free hugs for people for an hour or something, or whether that's, I don't know, giving someone a massage, or things that like people don't receive so much often in their way of life.
Yeah.
So little subtle supportive things. And then after a while, I realized also that just my presence, whether some people go through a lot of loneliness or emotional struggles, so just my presence, whether that's uplifting and inspiring or compassionate listening, these can be massive gifts, which, we'd pay therapists huge amounts of money, and yet if a friend does it, we don't value it.
Yeah, see, and that's where money, I think, gets infused into the situation, and we lose that ability to see how precious some things are.
Yeah.
Because if money's in the equation, so often our brain values it more highly.
Yeah.
But that's such a great example. I mean, a lot of people are lonely.
Yeah.
And so you think.
And longing for someone to really deeply listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if you stop on the street and you give somebody your ear for 5 minutes maybe, and they're going to have that exchange, that human connection that's missing for a lot of people. And it's funny that you say, we'll go and pay for.
Yeah, right. And then sometimes I hitch a ride with someone hitchhiking across the country, and I somehow feel like, wow, I'm kind of like a traveling counselor. I sit there and listen to their painful stories of the past and things. And then from an outside view, from an observer would say, you just got a free ride. Unfair or something. I paid for a bus.
Right.
And it's like, do we need to calculate exchanges all the time? Or do I just trust that I'm giving and they're giving and we're both enjoying?
Yeah. Boy, just letting go into that.
Yeah.
That's early on. So Rebecca and I started out in our relationship, and then for a few, probably 4 years or so, we didn't get married. We just were a couple. And after we got married, I don't explain it. We became a married couple, and we started getting transactional. And this was only for about a month or two, and then we said, we're not going to be married anymore. Let's just go back to the way we were. We didn't actually get divorced, but legally we stayed married. But trying to shift that idea, because when you're not, I know it sounds weird, but you're not expecting anything, then I feel like you receive more in a way than when we're thinking transactionally.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just that we then become open to all those different types
forms
of gifts and giving in the world. People must, I'm guessing people get to connect with you as soon as you meet somebody? Probably, do people, are they very open with you? Like people
It
start
varies.
sharing. It
Yeah,
varies. Okay.
yeah, but a lot of the time, yes. A lot of
Okay.
the time, something about meeting a stranger, which is like they know that I'm not in their life situation. There's like an outside perspective. So sometimes it's that reason, maybe.
Yeah.
It might also just be the way that I listen. To me, it's been a big focus on my life, especially the past few years, of really through meditation or through other sort of practices and learning, really wanting to focus on the depth of human connection. Like how can I be in a way that is really supportive for people to open up and have a sense of real closeness very quickly.
I think that's something my whole family was feeling, because you can sit down and talk with somebody, but you can see in their eyes if they're there, and there's a listening and a connection.
Yeah, and that's something hard to put value on, right? Like,
right. I mean, I think these are things that are literally invaluable. Beyond any money. In a monetary sense, to actually have someone that listens to you with their heart and responds, and so that's just beautiful that you're setting that example as you walk through life. And do you get a lot of chance to see back with people that you've been with, to hear like if there's been or is that because you're not super tied in or connected or anything, so you may not.
Yeah, so in many ways, once I've moved on to other places, there's a part of me that like cannot hold on to everywhere, otherwise I carry everything with me.
Oh, right?
Yeah. So there's that part, and acknowledging at the same time that there is a little part of me that does get attached to all the places I go and really wants to maintain a sense of connection. And so it's been sweet sometimes just by email or so I have this Instagram page where I sometimes blog a bit about this way of life.
Yeah.
And sometimes through there, someone has sent me a message like a month later or a week later saying like, wow, your visit has profoundly changed my life, or my children are doing this now, or you have no idea how much it supported me when you came. And it's so touching. Like, it gives me this fuel of like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
It was neat when I first met you guys, to see out of your backpacks, which had been, all this stuff had been given to you along the way.
Yeah.
There were these two teddy bears with their heads sticking out the top, and those had been given to you the day before by a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Who obviously you must have touched enough for them to part with these teddy bears.
Yeah, that was very sweet.
Huh.
Yeah. And the funny thing, just one thing that came to my mind back on the topic of like gifts and exchange, is that there's a kind of irony to all of this, that a lot of people will often, when they hear that I'm living by gift economy without money, that a good portion of people will worry about me, saying that, but if you live without money, you give too much. You work for everything.
Interesting.
Everywhere you go, you'll be helping out proactively, and like having this sense of duty or obligation to work for a meal or for a night of sleep or something. And so people worry about me giving too much. And then there's another portion of people who worry about me receiving too much. Freeloading, you're just getting stuff for free. And I see this as like a beautiful irony, that people, it depends which side you focus on. And which one's more true? Like neither, of course. It's just somehow I give when I can and when I want to give, and when I need to receive, I need to receive.
That's
And I can't trust a calculation of exchange. All I can trust is my intuition, my sense of what feels right in my heart, or what I feel I need in a way. If I'm needing rest and support and care, then that's the gift in that moment. And if I'm feeling lively and a bit bored, it's like, okay, what can I do? How can I be more proactive in the world? And I trust that everyone has that in them, but we just get disconnected from that.
Yeah.
We know when we need to give and when we need to receive.
So how do we, if we're not going to become moneyless, how can those of us that are living within this transactional cultural system, how can we embrace some of this, or bring a little bit of this into our life?
Yeah. It's a good question. I find that so difficult that I decided to go moneyless. So it might sound cheeky to say this, but that I think I'm doing the easy option. I sort of I would love to have the skill and the self-connectedness to be able to live with money and stay in a sort of gift-focused way of life. Yeah. I find that so difficult that for me the easy option is, okay, no money. I step out of that. But maybe gradually I get more and more clear in myself with my principles of gift economy that I can come back to playing with money sometimes. Because it's all a game anyway. Like it's just that you can choose your own rules in life, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I might change the rules of the game. But to answer your question a bit more directly, what to suggest? I would say I'm quoting a famous psychologist that I really like, and he would say never pay anything, never charge anything, and forget the concept of value. These are his 3 suggestions about how to deal with money in a heart-centered way. And by never pay anything, he means gift money. Don't pay it. Paying is parting with it with pain, and gifting it is actually, well, I see why this is needed. Like I eat a nice meal in a restaurant, and I know that they had to buy ingredients to do this. And I'm so grateful that I had this good meal. I want them to feed other people. So it's like changing the framing of it, that actually I'm now giving them money, not for the meal that I ate, but for them to buy ingredients in future to feed someone else.
Yeah.
So that's a gift then. And then when he says never charge anything, it's like when I work for someone, I just enjoyed the work. But I would love for them to gift me money so that I can eat tomorrow so I can enjoy more work in future. It's like seeing the money as a gift to nourish the future.
Yeah.
In the present moment, we never need money. We don't eat money. We don't use it for anything. But money is like a fuel for the future so that I can keep doing what I love to do. And then his third concept of forget the concept of value is like focusing on money as using it for meeting needs. Like, what's this money needed for? Rather than how much are you worth? How good is your labor?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, how much is needed? So that's one invitation of like how to use money in a bit more gift-focused way.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Because I feel like there are all these systems that we use, and money being one of them, but probably discovering all through life all these systems that are running in the background but to be able to take those for the average person and not have to leave the system completely, but just to reframe it. There's so much power in that, and so that's a beautiful way to
And another invitation I have on that note is to really get clear of the distinction between when giving just to receive and when giving for the joy of giving. To me, like culturally, we've sort of blended all giving into one thing. And I see it really useful in my life to separate out the two of like, when am I giving just to receive? And to me, that's very clear. That's what an exchange is or a transaction. Is like, I'm giving this because I want that thing back. And when am I giving just because I'm enjoying giving this?
Expectation, I suppose. That maybe comes down to that idea of expectation. Which runs on not just with these, with the monetary exchanges, but all kinds of human interactions. Wow. Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure.
So people can see your Instagram, which we'll link to too.
Which I don't really post very much
You
because
don't
I'm
put a
too
lot.
busy living the life. Occasionally I'll post a little update.
And I'm trying to think of any other ways that people can get involved in your adventures. I mean, you're going all over the place. So
I'm going all over the place. I don't know where I'll be, but people can contact me through Instagram or through email. You can drop my email, and if people are interested, maybe there's possibilities for some sort of collaboration or traveling together to explore the gift economy, or which is what I'm doing with my cousin currently. And I'd like to consider myself a bit of like a pioneer or tour guide of the gift economy, which I see as like a system that's already in place since the dawn of time. Nature is already living in the gift economy, and we already all are with our family. We don't pay each other to look after the kids in the family, or we don't do all so much exchanges. But I can smell the food. So I've kind of made it my life passion in the past months to explore the gift economy. So I want to continue learning, and I also want to show other people. Like, gift economy is all around us. We're already living it. Let's get more conscious of it.
I mean, there was something that happened right there. That was a cool thing for him. For Finbar to be able to just have that moment. All right. Yeah. Share in the comments your thoughts and anything you think about this, including, challenging this idea. Because it's, we're always trying this channel to get people comparing ideas and thinking about things in the comments and get discussion going.
Yeah.
And I hope your adventures continue to be amazing.
Keep
us updated.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Up to you all. Thank you for watching.